Hello.
Did you say hello?
No, I said hello, but that's close enough.
Hello there, and welcome to an all-new episode of Talking Smack, where we talk superheroes, movies, animation, comics, and much, much more. I am your host, Josh Scar, and as far as the regular Smack hosts go, I am flying solo, but I have brought in someone who I think might be overqualified for the role as far as this week's episode goes. We have Steven from Nerd Ranks returning. Steven, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Can't complain at the moment. Good company, good topic. Doing a podcast, it's all good.
Very awesome. Thanks for having me back on. I really appreciate it. I'm glad I passed the test. I'm back for round two.
Yeah, now I can go fade into the West, and you can take over for Talking Smack. Which I have to thank you, because our last episode where we were just talking, we had brought up the Lord of the Rings books, which are books that Alex and I have both tried to tackle.
Yeah.
And after the new year happened, Amazon had, I don't want to plug Amazon too hard, but they had a deal where you could get like their premium plus or whatever it is for Audible for 99 cents for 3 months.
Oh, okay.
And so I was like, okay. And I told my wife, because we share an account and we usually will try to like find books that both of us are interested in. She had nothing going on in her head about like, what should we get? What's appealing to me? And nothing came to her mind. I was looking through and I saw The Hobbit read by Andy Serkis. And I was like, ooh, The Hobbit's a little short, but Andy Serkis reading that. Is there Andy Serkis reading Lord of the Rings? And there sure are. So I picked up Fellowship with Andy Serkis narrating.
He's the best. If you're going to listen to those books, he's the guy. He goes full tilt and just puts his whole heart into it. He performs every character, and he's just like a top tier storyteller. And I feel like will go down in the pages of history, pun intended, as like one of the best narrators of books.
Yeah, it's a delight to listen to. The only issue I have at the moment is that apparently he pronounces Oin and Gloin as Owen and Glowin.
Yeah, he does. I noticed that too. I can't remember exactly who it was. He had one other mispronunciation in the actual Lord of the Rings too, and I was like, oh, that's nothing will be in the animated Ralph Bakshi version when they talk about Saruman and they say like Aruman and they just cut the S out for some reason. But anyway, yeah, no, those books are gems. Those performances are gems. I love them. I'm glad.
Yeah, it's definitely a much more palatable way to take in the story as well, because you're not reading like, if it weren't for Andy Serkis narrating, I probably would have noped out with Tom Bombadil, to be honest.
Oh, dude.
Which later in the year, we might have to talk about that a little bit more, because there is a 25-year anniversary celebration of Lord of the Rings happening this year.
I'm going to Alamo Drafthouse next weekend in Indianapolis to watch The Fellowship. My partner,
nice.
She got us tickets for my birthday, and she was like, "Happy birthday!" And I was like, "I love you. I knew I loved you already."
I really want to go, but I would want to bring at least my oldest daughter, and I don't know that she would sit around for. It's a nearly 3 hour. I think it's the extended edition, so it's like 3.5 hours.
Yeah. And granted, like there's a fair chunk of that. It is the credits. Like takes up like 20.
They're like 12, 20 minutes. Yeah,
they're long. But still 3+ hours, even without the credits, it's a commitment. But you just get in there. You just get engrossed and sucked into that world.
And I mean the way they built the sets and everything, like everyone knows all about the bigatures and the attention to detail that they went into. It was like a 3-year pre-production cycle, which you don't get that anymore.
No, those are going to be like, people will be studying those movies and the production on every level. Like, and that's just a perfect segue into Jim Henson and everything.
That's exactly what I was going for. Thank you for picking up on it.
Great job. The attention, like, it's perfect. That's perfect. All just the artistry and like art teams of artisans working on things, just mind blowing.
Not just like artists, but like innovators too.
Yeah.
Because I mean, we're talking about Jim Henson, and specifically, we're going to talk a little bit more about Labyrinth and the 40th anniversary of that film.
Mhm.
But we're talking a little bit of Jim Henson just in general at the moment, and like they constantly had to just invent things to be able to do the stuff they wanted to do,
Absolutely.
and it's just incredible. I don't know exactly where you want to start, but for me, a big starting point with talking about Jim Henson, obviously you've got like the Muppets, Sesame Street.
Yeah.
But if you really want to dive into Jim Henson as a creator, I think you have to look at the Dark Crystal.
Oh, I love the dark. Okay, so I wrote down this analogy because this past week I was doing a little bit of recently I watched rewatched Fire and Ice and Heavy Metal, and I was like, Labyrinth is kind of the heavy metal, and Dark Crystal is kind of the Fire and Ice. Where like
That's really interesting.
oh, so the reason I took that little note is like the Dark Crystal to me is just this like pure art piece, and it might be lacking a bit on like I don't want to even say plot because the plot is really cool. It's not as dynamic of a plot as Labyrinth, but the attention to detail, the shrubs and the dewdrops and the moss like inching up trees and every creature just having its own character, which is also represented in Labyrinth as well. But I just feel like the Dark Crystal is almost like unparalleled in terms of an art piece of cinema, in my opinion. It is so just so much time, energy, effort was poured into it, and it blows my mind.
There's a free documentary on the making of the Dark Crystal on YouTube that I
Mhm,
watched. I think in December, or November, actually, before I even had the idea of this episode.
mhm.
But it's not like the most engaging documentary or making of. It's really just them being like, well, we had to figure out how to do the Skeksis, and we
Yeah,
did all these things, and
I've seen
we
that
did all this.
documentary. What was there was a really cool, point in that where or I guess it was just, like, an interesting point that I didn't really think of, like, when you film a movie, you have to do things in a sequence, and, like, you have to do part A and then part B, and so different teams that worked on different creatures had different amounts of times to work on a creature or work on a set. And there was a little bit of like, not infighting, but a little bit of jealousy. It's like team A sees team B getting like 3 more months to like refine the set and the characters they've been working on. And they're like, damn, but they got to film mine now. So they just got to like send it, you know?
Yeah, which Dark Crystal was directed by Frank Oz, if I'm remembering, and then Jim Henson was obviously producer and
Yeah.
the creature work.
Yep.
Um, and the Dark Crystal also has the distinction of being the first live action film to not feature a human being,
Yeah.
which is a really interesting way to go about it. But
Mhm.
what you brought up with the lack of plot, or like the very thin or
Yeah, and
not very deep plot,
yeah,
it's kind of like the Avatar of
yeah,
the 80s. Like
yeah,
it wasn't a groundbreaking story, but
right,
it's more in the production value that's the groundbreaking part.
yes, absolutely, that's a great way to put it, is that, like, it almost necessarily didn't need too dense of a plot because it was breaking grounds in so many different areas, and although it does have, like, a thinner plot, I do like the all of the, like, history that is sort of implied via the runes and the costumes and the locations they take you to. I feel like they built a really dense world without needing to overtly just like tell you X, Y, and Z about that world. They did it through the craft and they were able to let you see a deeper look into that world without laying it out in the script, if that makes sense.
To not go much deeper, like the first time I ever saw the Dark Crystal, it was on the Disney Channel back in
Mhm.
the 90s. It was just on TV one day and I watched it, and I was just drawn into it because of how gross and like kind of scary it
The
was. Like I'm
Skeksis,
not a
dude,
big Skeksis are terrifying.
they're so
And
scary.
then you've got the big crab guys, and like going back to that documentary, like seeing how they built those crab suits, and like the guys literally could not get out of them during production days.
They had to, like, put them in rigs and be like, "Okay, this weighs so much, you do your piece, come back over here, and then we will suspend you in this rig so that you don't collapse
Yeah.
under the weight of this
Yeah.
costume." It's that's
Yeah,
s
they get a little bit of a physical breather, but they have to stay in the suit, which is still like
yeah.
retaining heat.
Yeah. Yeah, there's clips in that documentary of those crab performers just sweating. You can tell they're having a time. They're having a rough time.
But I think the Dark Crystal is it's a really good starting point to kind of show you where Jim Henson is as far as a creator and like where he's trying to go and pushing the boundaries in
Mhm.
production design and creature creation. Because like in the 80s and 90s, it was Jim Henson or Stan Winston. Like, which version of were you going more realism or were you going more family friendly?
Mhm.
Going realism, you're going Stan Winston. If you're going family friendly, you're going with Jim Henson.
Yes.
And with at the advent of CGI with Terminator 2 and Jurassic Park, like that creature creation kind of went away. But Jim Henson, up until he passed away, was continually refining and working at making this practical process just so efficient and effective that I really wish it was still around. When we get into Labyrinth, like there's so much stuff that we don't get in camera effects like that anymore.
No, I know there's so much practical effects that have been lost, and you can tell that he and his whole team had just such a passion for it. One of the cool things I was listening to this other podcast about him a couple days
How
ago.
dare you?
I know. Um, but they were saying a really cool thing about Jim Henson just being beyond being a really top shelf human. Like he was a really stellar guy, and he loved and cared for the people around him, and he was also really just smart in general, even beyond just the artistry and coming up with new techniques to create puppets and create puppet performances. He had this sense of like business savvy. So kind of when he got his start with making the Muppets and having them do commercials in New York, he was creating these characters on these companies' dimes, and he was refining his craft on these companies' dimes, and he knew what he was doing. He was like, we're making money and we're getting money so we can set up this solid foundation with these characters that we're building to then basically he had this long game. He was playing this very long creative game, and he was able to make things work creatively and logistically, and it had this really brilliant synergy that all really flowed together and kind of speaks volumes to his genius, if that makes sense.
His warmth and his ability to make so many things all ages appropriate.
Yeah.
Like we have an entire generation of people that are rediscovering the Muppets, rediscovering Fraggle Rock.
I can't listen to the Rainbow Connection without tearing up. It's like
Mhm.
so beautiful and like just so yeah, sorry, not to cut you off there. You just said you like the when you said the warmth and the emotion out like that yeah.
I
You're
mean,
not wrong.
Jason Segel was the closest thing we've gotten to a Jim Henson production since probably I mean, we've had Jim Henson productions, but like feeling like a Jim Henson project since Muppet Treasure Island, Muppet
Yeah.
Christmas Carol.
Oh yeah. Just the pure it's hard to get to that level of just pure raw creativity and like raw I don't even know what the word for it is. He's just such a pure soul, and I feel like the convergence of like Hollywood and money and
It's
making a product for
sincerity.
a company, and then like this sincere, like you said, the sincerity. Like sometimes those things really clash. Where like, but again, he was able to like build his own sort of dynasty of creativity. So he kind of held the keys, and he was like, "Let's try this out. Let's try this out. Let's do this." And I love that about him. He's really a champion of creation and champion of like creative freedom.
Yeah, and there's so many great things about the sincerity that he brings through the Muppets because there's that one clip from Sesame Street where Kermit's guesting on, and there's this little girl that keeps like interrupting him trying to teach her a lesson, and
Hmm.
he's getting frustrated with her. And then all of a sudden, that the last line is her being like, "Hey, Kermit," and he's like, "What?" Like, "I love you," and he's like, "Oh, I love you too." And like, there's just this really sweet moment, and I just the he's had so many appearances in, like, Arsenio Hall and all these other places where he talks about, like, you have an interesting looking puppet, no one's looking at the guy who's doing the work." Like, I'm moving my mouth, I'm not a ventriloquist, I'm not doing a bit, I just have this interesting looking puppet that has a voice that is engaging, and it just bred into its own thing where now whenever the Muppets show up or Sesame Street characters show up on TV, the puppeteers are always like the puppets are the guest. It's
Yeah,
not like the puppeteer
yeah,
being like, "Hey, look at me, I'm here with Elmo." It's it's always like, "Oh, we're here with Kermit and Fozzie." And
yeah.
it's just an endearing legacy that
It
he
is.
created because of like the warmth that these characters have. And no matter how old you are, you see them and you're like, "It's Kermit." Like, "Oh my god."
Yeah. Yeah, it's really, it's inspiring. It's really inspiring to see someone put their whole heart into something and to be authentic about it, and to make such an impact both with kids and adults alike, and to artists and to non-artists, just to the whole sphere of people. It really He really solidified his self in the pages of, like, creative history, and I love it. I heard this little factoid from his, documentary, which is on Disney Plus, The Idea Man. It's really good. They were talking about how when he was growing up, like, when he was a kid and stuff, he never really saw a puppet show. He was like, "I never had puppets. I never really knew what puppets were all about." And then once he got, like, deeper into school and stuff, it became a medium just for his larger ideas. He's like, "These things are expressive. These things can tell a story or, like, embed an idea into something. Let's try it out." And then he goes full tilt, winds up going to Europe where puppetry and marionettes are like way more highly regarded than they were in the States. And that was sort of like the catalyst for him understanding, like, oh, puppets really can be this vessel for these bigger ideas that I have in these movies and creative projects. And I think that that is really, I don't know, I just like that he had this sort of like galvanizing moment, and like an epiphany sort of went off, if that makes sense.
We're fortunate to have grown up in that era because
Yeah.
I mean, 3D animated stuff is fine. The new 3D animated Muppet Babies is okay, but I mean, the licensing that he was able to get away with because like Indiana Jones was it was owned by I think the distribution was owned by Paramount, but like Lucas and Spielberg still owned the actual rights.
Hmm.
So like one of my earliest memories of Star Wars is there's an episode of the Muppet Babies from the 80s where they're just playing Star Wars and Animal is Yoda and they keep integrating like little clips where Animal is pretending to be Yoda, but like they just put the animated head over Yoda and they just go with that.
I love that
So
animal
just
is Yoda. That's like the least
that's
likely to be Yoda or the most likely. I don't know, depending on how you look
the
at
way he speaks is it made sense to me.
it.
And then
Yeah.
when I saw Yoda and like actually like connected like what Star Wars was, I was
Yeah.
like, "Oh, I get it now."
Okay.
And
Okay.
so just and the relationship that he had because Yoda is a Jim Henson Creature Shop creation as well. I believe as well as like almost all of the Star Wars creatures.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
He and
definitely
Lucas are
Yoda.
big friend. They work together on a lot of stuff. I believe it was there was a credit that I saw when I was looking through credits where George Lucas was working on. I did take a couple notes on some things that sort of yeah, Lucas was an executive producer on Labyrinth too, and I was like, "Oh,
Mm.
I didn't know that." I mean, it makes sense because they have such a history together, but I was reading through the credits on it, and I was like, "Oh, okay."
Yeah, I'm sure that added legitimacy to the project as well because as we'll talk about like it's an undertaking.
Yeah,
Um But
yeah.
there was when we were talking off mic, throughout the week, you had brought up, a project of his that I didn't remember at all. I was trying to specifically focus on, like, non-Muppet things
Mhm.
for Jim Henson because everyone like, it's easy to talk about the Muppets. You can go all day about the Muppets, but, like, Jim Henson was so much more than just Kermit and Sesame Street, and, I was focusing on the films, and there weren't a lot of films. It was kind of, The Dark Crystal, Labyrinth, and then a bunch of Muppet productions. But you brought up one that I completely spaced on, which, has kind of been revitalized in comics. I believe Boom Studios is doing a Storyteller comic book series right now, but the Storyteller is one that I forgot existed, let alone, like, how impressive a lot of that puppetry is and, like, that creature creation is.
Yeah. No, same. It was kind of one that I didn't realize I still had on DVD, and again, my partner was like, we have that, right? Like we have a lot. She's a massive media collector, and on our wall of DVDs, she's like, here it is. She's one of those people like, oh, that one, it's right here, and she can just pull it out. It's like, so I popped it
Person
in.
after my own heart.
Yeah, right? I know. I'm like, dang, like, I don't know how certain people just have an ability to have this lexicon in their head and they like know where it is, hyper organized. I love that. I'm not that type of person.
I'm not hyper organized, but like I need my DVDs and my comics to be in a certain order, and like
That's fair.
usually it's alphabetical. At times I have tried to do it by like actor or like reasons why I bought it, but I'm like that makes no fucking sense. Let's go back to the A to Z and
The
we'll go
way
from there.
the way she does it is with distributor. So it'll be like Arrow, Criterion, stuff like Vinegar Syndrome. It's kind of separated in that way. And then I have because I'm not a huge DVD. I have a lot of comics and books. I don't have a ton of DVDs, but I have my section, and mine is just like compared to hers, it's just kind of like a mess. But Storyteller, I popped it in, and it was like way more in depth than I thought it was going to be. If you this is like when we go back to talking about Dark Crystal and kind of how thin that was, not to crap on that plot at all. I love that movie, but these stories, they're just like 25-minute episodes. They are so dense. They really draw from English and like Anglo-Saxon, European folklore in general. And if you blink, you will miss a lot. It is like a machine gun of lore. And I could rattle off some of the plots for you, but I don't want I don't want to fill like that much time of the podcast. They're really good though. And also I realized while I was watching them, they had probably just started getting into green screening that wasn't hyper expensive and like hyper technical. Like that craft was being really refined, and they used it in such a tasteful way. For instance, there's like this scene where a princess is traveling the world and she's looking for this lost porcupine prince man that is got this curse. And the way that they frame it is they pan over to this like china cabinet, and they pan in on this dish, and the artwork on the dish starts to come alive, and just little touches like that are embedded throughout this whole thing, and it almost has a production value that is similar to some of the movies. It really blew my mind. Like, I don't know how long these episodes took, like start to finish, but they had to take a very, very long time. They're really entertaining, and they're really just well put together all around.
I do remember them focusing more on darker stories. Like it was almost like they went, let's just go full Grimm Brothers with
Yeah.
a lot of these stories. But like they usually will end up with like a happy ending or like a good
Yeah.
moral.
Yeah, they all have that. They all bring it full circle. So they're framed. The framing device is this kind of like cheeky old man in front of a fireplace, and he's talking directly at you. He's like your crypt keeper, or he's like your he's the creep. He's the guy telling the story. And what's really cool is that he has a dog, and the dog is a puppet. And sometimes the dog will take over the story and be like, no, it happened like this. And then he'll start spinning his own version of it. And sometimes the storyteller will put himself into the stories. He'll be like, and then this really handsome man showed up, and everyone loved him, and it's just him in the story. But they are really dark, and they do have a they're like really dark without being really negative or weird. They just have these moments where it's like, oh, that's creepy and unsettling. And like a creature might show up at the bottom of a lake that has a bajillion eyes, or there might be like a grim little skeleton that pops out of a grave and kind of chases someone, but it never gets like horror, but it does stay in that dark fantasy realm. Highly recommend. Most of them, I think, I saw were on YouTube, actually.
If it's not the direct Jim Henson studios or productions, I think there is a few heroes out there. There are a few heroes out there that have kept this series alive by having uploads on YouTube.
Yeah.
So I would strongly recommend it because it's a beautiful show. And there was one clip going around for a long time about the one dragon that they had in an episode and how massive it was. Like they didn't even finish it. They had to hide it with like shadow puppetry and
I
just
believe it.
doing angles. So like it was literally just like the head of the dragon and like I think the right and left claws, and they had no legs or limbs. It was just we need to hide it with angles and we need to just make it intense so
Yeah.
kids don't notice.
Yeah. I mean, it's another testament to Jim Henson and his whole creature shop, the links they would go to make larger than life creatures and sets, and yeah, just how hard they would push it. Like, they were always looking at, "Can it be done? Let's try it." And then they would try it, and that show really exemplifies that because like, on a technical level, it's pretty wild how much they put into each episode. I would say there are a lot of movies straight up made today that don't put the amount of effort that they were putting into one episode, of that show. It's like I don't wanna say it's I hesitate to say anything is forgotten or slept on because you get, like, a mob of people like, "You're wrong, no one forgot about that thing." But, like,
I didn't forget about it, therefore no one has.
yeah, yeah, but I feel like it's just kind of a slept on thing that a lot of people should revisit. It's a good one.
It is part of that Disney lexicon of where if it's not the Muppets, Disney's just kind of letting it fall to the wayside, even though they technically own the Jim Henson Productions process, I believe. Or
Mhm.
maybe it's just the Muppets. I can't quite remember. But the in camera work, the production process, and all of that is a great segue into the Labyrinth or Labyrinth, which I realized this week is called Labyrinth. It's not the Labyrinth.
Mhm.
I've been calling it the Labyrinth my entire life, but
It's
that's
like it's
that's a
like
Midwest
mom
thing.
it's like mom with the Nintendo. She's "Are you playing the Nintendo in there?" Or, like, is that it's like an
I
Xbox.
was gonna make a mom analogy, but my mom, she always adds an S to things. So, like, there's
Oh,
Aldi, but it's Aldi's to her, and
yeah.
then, like, we had Logly, but it's
Mhm.
Logleys to her, and all
We have
like,
we have
there's
Kroger,
one
Kroger's.
yeah, she would call it Kroger's. We have Meijer, which she calls Myers.
Yeah.
The only one she doesn't do is Walmart. Walmart is Walmart.
I wonder why that one slipped by.
I think it's because the Mart, like, you don't do Marts.
Yeah, true, true, true. You're not going to the Walmarts. You're just going to Wal
In my area, you might still have to make the trip to because one might have something that the other one doesn't.
That's fair.
Let's start talking about the Labyrinth. Um,
Labyrinths.
1986 Labyrinths, yes. That's the sequel. Dollar signs in the S.
Oh, yeah.
I think they have said they're working on a Labyrinth sequel or what was it?
I would love to
I
see
know
that.
there
Who
was
plays
something
David
going on and
does
everyone
David d who plays David Bowie? Like, does the Goblin King come back as some like, who could fill that role?
who's that? They would probably do Timothy what's
Timothy
his name?
Chalamet.
Chalamet. Yeah, they would probably do someone like him.
You can't turn your head with it's gotta be someone with the zazz, with the sauce, who's like, "I need you to take this poison peach to Sarah and send it to my
Turn
brother."
back, Sarah. Turn back before it's too late.
I mean, I'll eat that poison peach. I'll go to the ball with David Bowie. I'm in. I'm just down.
So yeah, Labyrinth. I remember I had seen this movie several times at my sister's house growing up, but I had never seen it in its entirety, and I did not understand why my sisters were so obsessed with the movie. And then, like in the late '90s, I finally got my own VHS copy, and I remember people talking about David Bowie, and I'm like, "What's going on with David Bowie?" And I paid attention. And like, I mean, he's wearing tights, and you can see the bulge, but like,
Oh, it's
what's
there.
going on? And then again, I'm a little bit older, less naive. I'm like, "Oh, that's why they're watching this.
Yeah.
They're watching for androgynous Bowie and his bulge in his pants."
No, they wanted the artistry and they wanted the song. They wanted it to be
I
sing.
don't think my sisters did, but I definitely did.
Yeah, yeah, totally. I don't remember how old I was when I first saw this. I was definitely a kid. I think the first time I watched it, we might have rented it, and then we had a video store very close to our house, and they had, like, the kids rack that were just free rentals, so if parents rented something, kids got one for free, and I'm pretty sure that might have been my first exposure to Labyrinth was the free rental rack.
That's super cool.
Yeah, no, it was a good that's how I saw Neverending Story, I'm pretty sure Labyrinth So many movies. I got exposed to so many movies from that video store. Big Ups Video Connection in Ohio, way back in the 90s. Since
Max Video for me and Elgin, yeah.
Okay.
They had their algorithm too, because I remember I rented the Labyrinth a couple of times, and I remember them. That's when I saw Neverending Story as well. Was they went, oh, if your kid's really enjoying this and he's renting this for the 5th time, maybe have him watch Neverending Story and Neverending
Yeah.
Story 2 that just came out.
Yeah.
And like, okay,
Just putting them right next to each other on the shelf. They knew what they were doing. And it's like you said, it's like their algorithm, algorithm. Like, if you like this,
yeah.
you might like this.
And then also like the childhood awakening with Jennifer Connelly in this film, and the only time I think she's been more beautiful is in The Rocketeer.
Oh, wow. That's a deep pull. I haven't seen that in a hot minute either. Dang. That's definitely worth a rewatch.
If I'm like, man, I really want to watch someone, I want to see someone really pretty. I'm
Mhm.
like, Jennifer Connelly, Rocketeer, Jennifer Connelly, Labyrinth. I'm good with either of those.
Mhm. That's fair. This is another movie that I feel like I was glazing freaking Dark Crystal so much, but this movie and its attention to detail is also mind blowing too. The sets, the character designs. Who's your favorite character?
Oh, my favorite. It's a character that has like 5 lines. It's the worm.
Oh, really? Oh, I love the word. I
The
love
movie,
comic relief. I love it. I love him. He's like, if she went that way, she would have gone straight to the castle.
the movie doesn't happen without the worm.
Yeah. No, it doesn't because
If he lets Sarah go the way she wants to go when she initially finds out that secret, the
Mhm.
movie's over.
Yeah.
If he
That's
doesn't send her the
great.
wrong way and he thinks he's helping her out, it's great.
That's so true. I love the Looney Tunes, like little nodes that they embedded in there. Another really like a great comedic timing character in this is when they are walking through that stone hallway and there's like the stone faces and the one's like you can't go this way and Hoggle's like, oh, shut up. And he's just like, oh, I haven't said it in a long time and I just let me do it. And Hoggle's like, all right, you can do it. And then it snaps back to him being like, you mustn't go this way. I love
It's great because this plays a lot like is it Wayne's World, where it's literally just a bunch of sketches stitched together
Oh, yeah.
that form a coherent plot.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
like, well, Sarah's the connecting tissue. She's got her plot and her motive,
Mhm.
but everywhere she ends up is just completely irrelevant to what's trying to happen,
Just
and
for
they're doing their own thing.
for the record, like I get that she is a young girl who is upset with her screaming sibling and stuff. But at the beginning of this, she's pretty just mean to be like, oh, this baby. Somebody just throw this baby out the window. I never want to see this baby again. And I don't know if that's because I'm a dad and I'm just like, no, you can't. Like, what? It's just a crying baby.
So
No.
So maybe you can add some context to this. There's one line in this movie that has bothered me my entire life because I really do not understand either the dialogue or the delivery of it. I don't know what is confusing me, but it's when Sarah's dad is like, I'll go talk to her. And then he goes up, knocks on the door. Hey, Sarah, just want to let you know we'll be home after midnight and
Uh-huh.
whatever. And she's like, you really wanted to talk, didn't you? You
Yeah.
practically broke down the door.
Yeah.
And then she like goes and cries on her bed. I'm like, how does him coming up and telling her when they'll be home
I think what
equate to?
I think what it is she feels kind of neglected and that all her parents ever want to have anything to do with her is if they're telling her when and where she needs to be to watch the kid or X, Y, and Z. And she's like, and her dad's like, hey, I need to talk to you. And he comes up and he's like, we need you to do these things. And she's like, screw you, Dad. You didn't want to talk to me. You just wanted to tell me what to do. And that's why she's like, you really banged my door down wanting to talk to me, Dad. That's the way I take it. I don't know if that's what they meant by that, but that's the way I take it.
I can see that. It's her being a little sarcastic, but because she's so distraught with how her wicked stepmother is treating her
Yeah.
and how she's just the babysitter, which like they do a pretty okay job of making sure that we know that the wicked stepmother is not the wicked stepmother.
Yeah.
Where she says, We only ask if you have nothing planned. In fact, we would prefer if you had plans.
Mm-hmm.
And Sarah's just like, I'd rather go wander around in the park with my dog, pretending to be in plays.
Mm-hmm. This is
And that's
another.
like, there's some good character development with that too, because we find out that Sarah's mom, her biological mom, is an actress that like ran off to Hollywood or something. So
Yeah,
she's
I
trying
always thought
to
that was a really
emulate her mom.
interesting dynamic. They like they're very subtle about diving into the subtext with that, and they're into like the I guess the inner workings, like her inner monologue. They give you her internal struggles, and that is a really just subtle but important little piece of the puzzle for her, for sure.
I guess they don't say like the mom's dead. They just or has run away. Like it's just
Yeah, it's
absent
just kind
mom.
of
Mom is
like
not here.
yeah,
Used to be an actress.
yeah. It's just kind of like enough is implied for you to be like, oh, there's something there. Mom was into acting. She's now into acting, and she's trying to like follow in her footsteps, but also feels like some type of way about it. And like, yeah, it's just enough to keep you, I don't know, to lead you into that direction.
Yeah. So back on the subject of favorite characters, if I'm not just like talking about the character that like makes me the most happy,
Mm-hmm.
but like one of the actual main players, like between Hoggle, Sarah, the Goblin King, Jareth, Ludo, I would say my favorite like main player character is Didymus.
That's mine too.
Nice.
I love Didymus and Ambrosius. He's like a dog riding a dog, and I love I love that he's like, I love that he's just like a totally coherent humanoid anthropomorphized creature writing a version of himself that is just his valiant steed.
And there's a really great cowboy switch with Ambrosius too. The first time we see him, he's like cowering behind the tree, and it's clearly a puppet dog. And
Mm-hmm.
then he pulls back, and then they release the shaggy dog
Yeah,
to
yeah.
go, and it's like a real dog.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just one of those little good in camera effects that they have in this. But one of the reasons Didymus is my favorite is because he is just high energy from the moment you meet him,
Oh yeah.
and
He's so
he's
calm.
got that whole he's got that whole like none shall pass without my permission,
Yeah.
and like Ludo's just ready to whack him,
Yeah.
and then when it comes time for Sarah to realize like, oh, can we have your permission to pass?
And he's
And
never thought
the
about it.
befuddlement of him
It's
being
like,
like,
I
oh,
I guess.
yeah, that's the second time too where they have this moment where like someone doesn't realize that they've been kind of blocking their own progress.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
so he's just like, yes, I
I
guess.
I've never thought about it that way, but sure, I guess. I don't have any reason why you shouldn't be able to pass. It was just the idea of like he was the guy guarding the bridge to not let people pass, but had no reason to not let people pass. There was no authority behind him keeping
Exactly.
people from passing.
The only authority preventing people from passing is by his own admission. And
Yeah.
he's
And
just
then
like,
he
nope.
realizes it. I love the scene where they're all held up in like the whole goblin town is attacking the house that they're in, the little goblin house that like Ludo
Mhm.
roof open in, and he's and they're just like all hope seems lost, and then he comes out the front door, basically spears at his throat, and he's like, "Oh, I see." He's basically like, "I see you concede. I will go easy on you now that you've decided that I've won the fight." He's just so confident in the face of absolute death that
So much unearned confidence.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, he's the best.
I watched this, I think New Year's Eve. My sister-in-law was in town, and I saw this it was free on YouTube, which the link is in the episode description if you want to watch this anytime soon. It's on YouTube for free. Um, if you have a good ad blocker anyway. But
For life.
there's there's just so many things that there's in-camera effects, which if you don't know what in-camera effects are, they are meticulously planned out, if not choreographed sequences that are meant to just trick your eyes. It's a special effect that's not really a special effect because it's
Yeah.
not like computer generated. It's just something that it's like what they would do in a stage play to like make you think like, oh, magic really happened.
Something's bigger,
And
something's smaller, something's like doing something
Mhm.
that's not, but using practical effects rather than CGI.
And one of the first times that that really blew my mind because like I can figure out a lot of what's going on, and this one like is really obvious where they just had a sliding panel behind it. But when Hoggle gets bribed into helping Sarah the first time,
Mhm.
and she's after she had been dropped by the helping hands,
I love the
um,
helping hand so much.
the helping hands are great. I remember being a kid and just trying to like figure out how to like move
Same.
my hands to be
Yeah.
like that.
I remember doing shadow puppets and trying to be the helping hands on the walls and make mouths and eyes. My sister, like, we'd link up, we'd lock in and make faces.
And like how they made the pupils and stuff with like other hands and their thumbs, like it's
Yeah.
just
Oh,
the lighting, it's just beautiful.
that's just another, another instance of Jim Henson and the Jim Henson Creature Shop, like, finding these artisans to work with. He's always finding, like, we need jewelers, we need clothing makers, we need, people who do marionettes. That, I'm sure he reached out and they sourced, like, professional hand actors because it really shows and it's really impressive.
Yeah, it's all so smooth. Um, but after Sarah gets dropped by the helping hands, there's this sequence where she bribes Hoggle to help her get through the labyrinth. And proper title there. Um and he like reveals this door hidden underneath a carpet because there's like no exit. And so he picks up this door, slams it against the wall. The handle's on the left side, and he opens it. And which again, this is all in one shot. It's
Uh-huh.
not like there's a quick cut and they like put in a different backdrop.
Yeah.
He lifts up the door, puts it against the wall, opens it almost immediately, and all of a sudden, this wall that was solid is now just dropping brooms and janitorial equipment. And
Yeah.
he's like, "Oops, wrong door."
Yeah.
Takes the handle off the door, puts it on the right side, opens the door, and now it's open, all in one shot.
Yeah.
And like that part is it's really simple. Like it's literally just a panel that they removed
Mhm.
from behind the door,
But it
but
it
it's
so
done so
effective.
quickly.
It's so effective and looks really good. There's a lot of that in this movie, and there's a lot of that I would like I know I keep saying it's like Looney Tunes humor. I feel like Jim Henson was, like, very inspired by Looney Tunes. Jim Henson and his whole team, because that's such a, like, Daffy Duck, "Well, wrong door, let's try over here." You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh yeah, there's so much of that because you have the when Sarah is going through the labyrinth the first time on her own, and she's leaving little lipstick marks, and you
Mhm.
have that one little goblin guy like they're
Coming
all
out
like,
with
"Hey, what are you doing?" Like, it's my thing," and he like spins it around or flips it over, and now all of a sudden the mark is gone,
Yeah.
and Sarah's just like, "What the hell?"
One so not to, like, shift lanes here too hard, this is another production that leans on sort of folklore and, traditional European storytelling and stuff like that, and has a huge cast of characters that are supposed to represent sort of, like, internal struggles or, like, larger struggles than they appear to show you on the surface. One of those characters that really creeps me out and kind of sticks with me is when Sarah's in her room and that creature from the junkyard, from like the trash yard shows up and she just
Oh, the
keeps
junk lady, yeah.
yeah, she just keeps handing her things like, "You're gonna need your doll, and don't forget, you're gonna need your clock. You don't wanna forget that." And I'm like,
Mhm.
this is all kind of like this allegory about being overly possessive, like being like materialistic. It's like I don't it sticks with me, it's dark. It's like that for me is one of the darkest parts of the movie because there's this weird sense of depression and, like, attachment to physical objects intertwined in that scene that I feel like they were really trying to push.
The junk lady is actually she's one of the things that really freaks me out about this movie is, I love the movie, but when she showed up, I would always be, like, at the opposite end of the room and be like, "Is it done yet?" I'd be a
Yeah,
little
no, it's
Ambrosius at that
terrifying.
point.
Yeah, it's Is she done? I'm fine. I'm completely fine. Don't worry about me.
But I saw Labyrinth well before I ever saw The Dark Crystal, but when I saw Ogra from The Dark Crystal, she
Mhm.
immediately reminded me of the junk lady.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And, I mean, Ogra's a completely different energy and kind of character.
But
So,
very
like, mostly in the aesthetic of the
yeah.
character.
Yeah, they look they almost it's almost like they're related in some like some universe in the Jim Henson universe. They're definitely related.
That's a family tree I would not want to see.
No.
One-eyed ogre and the junk lady. But
Oh,
yeah, the junk lady, she is kind of terrifying in a very odd sense because, like you said, she's kind of encouraging Sarah to embrace this false reality through her materialistic needs and wants. And it is something that I think really affected me as a kid too, because one of the things that if you want to really turn me off on something or not like freak me out, I guess would be the right word. Um, Mess with someone's mind. Like when someone gets their mind messed with, and like especially if you do
mhm,
the effect of like the eyes getting messed up too.
mhm,
Like there's I think the first Futurama movie that they did involved Bender getting like spam installed into him, and
mhm,
like his eyes are now just these like square squigglies, or like hypnosis kind of looks,
mhm.
and like that freaks me out because like I don't like it. He's not Bender anymore. He's being manipulated. He's being
Yeah,
corrupted by something,
yeah.
and then the eyes just adding that extra effect. I don't like it. It freaks me out. So like Sarah doesn't have the eye thing going on, but um,
You can tell
I think this is kind of like the root of it.
yeah. No, you can tell she's changing. What's scary about it is for me is that she's like for a moment she's accepting it. She's like, "Okay, this is it now. This is what I do now. This is where I go. This is the direction this movie's going." And as a child, you're like when you're watching this as a kid, it hits you like I thought we were having fun in the Looney Tunes maze, and now like it just got not that this is the first dark moment, but it's a moment where it's like, oh God, all hope is lost in a different way. She completely forgot why she was there. She's completely forgetting herself and getting lost in like we said, this materialistic spiral. But I love how
Yeah, and she's like a hollow version of herself too because of
yeah.
it.
Mhm. I do like how they segue out of it though, and the whole crew is back in the junk heap, and they're like, "Hey, everything's fine now." There are a lot of like hard cut, not a lot, but like a fair amount of like hard cuts in this movie. Like all of a sudden, Sarah's at the ball with the Goblin King, and like then all of a sudden she's back in her room. Then all of a sudden she's back in the junk heap, and I kind of like that too. And I think that plays into like what you were saying earlier, how this is a collection of skits pieced together and they have these different like scenes that operate as framing devices for the skits.
So what's your favorite song from the film?
Ooh, it's only forever. I like the first track that comes in. It sets the tone. It gives you Bowie. It gives you Bowie in all of his sauce, and I really like the when the MC Escher hallway music number.
Mm,
Closer to the end.
yeah.
He's like, "I've done everything for you." That one's really good too. I like that one. Those like the first and maybe one of the last ones are my two favorites.
And that MC Escher sequence is also really visually interesting, not just because you have all these different angles and they're splicing together frames to kind of convey the depth and where everyone's going.
Mhm.
But you have all these different moments where Bowie's like flipping over
Yeah. He has,
from
like
underneath over to the
yeah,
top and like really
gravity
simple
doesn't
editing tricks, but it looks so good for the time.
absolutely. They really sold it. They really made you think like gravity was operating in the way that the Goblin King wanted it to operate, and it looks good. That's another part that honestly is a bit creepy. When he's going from the bottom of like the stairwells and flipping over to the top, those sequences are kind of scary too, because it's like that's not normal. It crosses that sort of uncanny valley where it's like it is real, it looks real, but gravity doesn't work that way.
It's uncanny, but like you said, it works because it fits within the reality of this
Yeah.
movie of Labyrinth,
Hmm.
and so it just it meshes really well.
It does. What's your favorite song?
I don't want to sound like a pleb, but it's Magic Dance. You remind me of the Babe. What Babe? The
That's
Babe with the
fine.
power. What power?
That's fine.
I just I love it. I'll do that. I'll just bust that out every now and again where like someone will be like, "What's going through your head right now?" I'll be like, "You remind me of the Babe."
There's no wrong answers for what's your favorite Labyrinth song. They're all great. It's David Bowie does so much for this movie and the tone. He's so good at being dark, but so good at being cheeky and silly. Just genuinely silly, but intimidating at the same time. Where you're like, "Ooh, you're setting the rule. You're making the rules." And that's another thing. That's another epiphany I had. No, I guess not epiphany, but like it's just another a note that I took about David Bowie and about how this movie is tied into European folklore. In so many European folklore stories like Rumpelstiltskin and I'm trying to think of other ones. Just like movies where the antagonist gives you a time frame, like I'll be back in a year, or like I said, Rumpelstiltskin, 7 days, and I'm coming for your baby unless you guess my name and all this. He gives her this timeline. He puts her on this timeline of what is it? 12? Is it 13 hours?
13 hours.
13 hours, and I thought that was a really just like nice little nugget that they embedded in there to give him that vibe of European folklore antagonist.
And not only that, but he taps into that rare acting talent of
He's good.
he's good, but like not everyone can work with puppets. Not
No,
everyone can
no.
work like they see it and they're like, "Oh, this is ridiculous. I'm gonna just go over the top hammy," or
Mhm.
you have like all these different analogies where like the Muppet Christmas Carol works because
Yes.
Michael Caine treats the Muppets like fellow actors. And then you
Yes.
have Muppet Treasure Island where Tim Curry's the Muppet.
Mhm.
And Bowie blends the line between the two of those
I feel like
where he's just like, I'm here and these are my minions.
he was such a creative himself. He understood the project and understood that they were trying to make the universe they were trying to make, I feel like.
He definitely bought in. Like he and Henson had to have been on the same wavelength because even if it was a little bit of a vanity project where he got to make
Yeah.
songs or bring in songs to put into a movie and maybe get an Oscar for best original song or something.
Mhm.
He had an opportunity to perform. He took it. And another reason why I love Dance Magic, I believe is the name of the actual song,
Yeah.
is when he's throwing Toby in the air. And then he
Oh
just
my
like
god.
on like the third or fourth one, he walks away and they do the quick cut where the guy catches him. I just
Yeah, dude, these scenes.
that's one of those visuals that just sticks with me.
Yeah. No, I know the scenes with Toby, especially closer to the end and stuff where they're in the little MC Escher hallways, being the father of a toddler, they really got me more than they did in previous years. Like now that I am a father and I have a toddler and I see this little this little child on the edge of the stuff, I'm like activated. I'm like, oh no, save the baby! It's another tier, you know. Another not to spoil people's dreams or spoil people's perception of David Bowie in this, but also all of that contact juggling with the glass spheres and stuff. Those aren't his hands. They hired.
Yeah,
It goes back to
they
like,
spliced that in, right? Like they
yeah.
filmed that separately.
Well, I think they like hired another like contact juggler artisan person to either do it. I think like in some scenes they just have him sitting in front of him, but then they also do like some splicing to make it look more natural. Yeah. But I was heartbroken when I learned that. Like, David Bowie's not juggling those balls. Why'd you have to do that to me?
It is really seamlessly blended in. Like you
It
can't
is.
usually when there is something like that happening, like there's a hard line that you can see.
No, you can tell
And
it's
even in upscaled versions, like you can't quite tell.
yeah, it looks great. They did a really good job.
I mean, we have to talk a little bit about like we've said favorite creature or favorite character, but like do you have a favorite creature or favorite segment that they run into?
I think that so I think my absolute favorite is probably just the totality of the Goblin Town and the attention to detail on the shingles and the wood and the cobblestone streets and just the whole design of it was amazing. But if I had to pick one singular creature, one just individual thing, I have to go with it was like those gates close, there's spikes behind them, and then the gate turns into the giant hulking armored like sentry where he picks up the battle axe.
Mhm.
I was like, that is cool. It was just cool. And it speaks to my inner child where I'm like, yes, cool. death metal battle axe robot thing. Let's go. And so for years, that has been a really like cool creature for me.
I'm always torn. Like I have 3 real favorite segments that I could watch at any time. It's them talking to the old man with the bird head.
Oh yeah.
You know, oh, it's so stimulating being your head. Uh, and then I did memory hole myself at one point with that because I thought they did the sarai, 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 sarai. I thought they did that sequence,
Oh
but
yeah.
they didn't. They don't actually do that, which I'm like, oh, that's disappointing. That's like
Yeah.
the perfect character since he's like part Latino.
Yeah.
But I also love the door guards where one tells the truth and one lies. Like
Oh.
that whole sequence is great. And then the door knockers, I really love that too, where
Oh yeah. They're
the one's got the
Mhm.
knockers through the ears
And
and
he's
the
just
other
like,
one's just
"What?"
like, no good. Can't
That's
hear you.
that's such a Monty Python inspired bit. Like that whole bit is just like, yeah, I love that too. And then she's trying to get him to put
It's
the knocker back in his mouth, so she plugs his nose, and he's like, "Oh, ah."
that's a really good moment because it's the first time we see her like outsmart the labyrinth.
Yeah, true, 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 true. Whereas it's like, oh, she pulled a fast one on him. She like was confident in her ability to overcome the challenge.
Every other time she's become overconfident. She's like, I figured it out. I know what I'm doing. And then this time she actually is just in
She
the
does.
moment and she's like, I'm gonna knock, please. And he's like, nope, don't want that back in my mouth.
Oh, and the comedic timing on to go back to the guards that are like arguing, he tells the lies, he tells the truth when she thinks she has it figured out, and they're just like, they're like, is that how it works? And they're like, I don't know. Is that what it is? And then she's like really confident, and she's like, absolutely, and then she walks through, and then just drops.
Yeah, that sequence, I still every time I watch that film, I'm trying to follow her logic, and I do not
No,
understand what she's trying to get at.
I don't either. I don't either on this, like, recent pass that I did, I was like, it's kinda like at the beginning of The Lord of the Rings where Bilbo's talking to everyone at his party, and he's like, "I like half of you, half as well as you deserve." And they're, like, trying to figure out the logic. Does that actually work?
Is that an insult or is that a
Yeah,
compliment?
yeah, and it turned well, in his instance, it actually was an insult, uh, but it's very similar to that where you're doing these mental gymnastics, like, "Is it? Do I get it? Do I understand? Is she sure she understands?"
It's a great moment, and props to Jennifer Connelly for the role she played in this and the dialogue she had to learn. I mean, she's still pretty young in her acting career at this point,
Yeah,
so the fact that she's working so well alongside all of these things, like, it's just it's a privilege to have been able to grow up with that movie in my life. Like, I don't say that lightly about many things, but this is a movie that I've tried to get my kids to watch, but because it's not animated, they're not really interested in it yet.
they will
Um,
be. They will be someday.
I really hope it's something that even just like that door trick where I hope at some point I'm watching it, they might come down and watch it, and they'll be like, "Wait, how did they do that?"
Mhm.
They're like, this is before computer generated animation, like, you can't do that." I'm like, "Yeah, I know, right?"
They did it. They did it with magic.
Jim Henson magic. It's such a charming movie and such a good time. Like I it's celebrating its 40th anniversary. If it hasn't already been back in theaters, I think it has. I'm sure that they'll release it again before the end of the year.
Mhm.
But if you haven't experienced it in theaters, I would strongly recommend it.
If and when it does come back to theaters, I'll be there for sure. It's one of those just quintessential fantasy watches. If you're a fan of fantasy, if you're a fan of artistry and anything Jim Henson and you haven't seen it somehow, it's one of those that's just like you said, it's a movie you grow up with and really impacts you. It's been super inspiring for me, and Jim Henson, his whole legacy and career have been super inspiring for me. Just as like I said, he's a champion of creative freedom and creative expression. So can't say enough good things about this movie and the legacy it's created.
As we said earlier, Jim Henson just being one of those guys that's like, can we make it happen? Maybe. Okay, let's try it. Like even if it was a maybe, he was like, let's go.
Hmm.
And if it was a no, he'd be like, okay, how can we figure out how to make it into a maybe?
Hmm.
It's one of those things that he was a rare breed of creative director or producer that was able to get people to say yes to things that a lot, especially nowadays, like no one would say yes to. And just, it's really sad that someone like him died as young as he was.
Oh, I know.
Um,
He was like in his early 50s, I think. And yeah, but his legacy lives on, and he has inspired so many creators, and even beyond that, inspired so many people just in their day-to-day lives with Muppets or Sesame Street, and helping to embed these really, like, good moral lessons into children, and really important life lessons into children and adults alike.
you kind of inspired me just now. So as we get ready to wrap up here, is there anything in the Jim Henson lexicon? It could be during his life, after his life. Is there anything in the Jim Henson lexicon that just like still elicits some kind of emotional response out of you, or something that like has stuck with you your entire life, or has stuck with you since you have seen it? I guess.
I mean, yeah, I what's really cool when I think about it is how much my son learned from Sesame Street, and seeing him develop and genuinely learn things from these characters, and genuinely build a sense of himself via these characters that Jim Henson created. It's just cool to see and to think about how his legacy and like what he was trying to do lives on after he has died. And it really brings a tear to my eye to see like the power of art, and how he like how happy I feel like he would be if he was still, like, I'm sure he was happy before he died, but like to see the impact he was making, but like to know how his craft and his intention and his ability to affect people will reverberate into generations to come. And that's the most beautiful piece for me, is just knowing that even though he is gone physically, that his spirit will never die, and I see it directly reflected in my son and like his development, and I just love that.
So for me, there's an episode of Scrubs, which I know when you think of Jim Henson, you immediately think of Scrubs.
Yeah.
But in Scrubs season 8, there's an episode called My ABCs. The episode is primarily focused on JD. Throughout the day, he's having these weird daydreams about the Muppets. He talks with Elmo, he talks with Grover and a few other characters. And it's because he's got his own son now, and he's like showing him Sesame Street and all this stuff. But the main patient that he's dealing with throughout the episode is this dad who is recovering cancer patient, and he's in for a routine checkup. Like he collapsed and just, oh, I just got lightheaded, and maybe I didn't eat enough. We'll do some X-rays and see what happens. And by the end of the episode, the dad is dead. He passes away suddenly because the cancer reappeared and was just super aggressive, and the mom and their child were just completely taken aback by it. Obviously, the final sequence of that episode has Joshua Radin singing this really somber rendition of the Sesame Street theme.
Oh,
Like it's just a piano accompaniment, Joshua Radin singing Sunny Days. JD's like doing his end of the episode soliloquy, and he's like, I think that's why I've been thinking about Sesame Street all day, is because of all these things that have been happening and all the lessons we've learned. And he rattles off a bunch of stuff. And then the last thing he says is, and it's even okay to cry. And then like JD faces the camera, he's got the tears coming down. It's just a beautiful episode. You wouldn't expect Scrubs, a comedy show, which like Scrubs has done many episodes that have made you cry. There's the
oh
Brendan Fraser
yeah.
episode alone.
No, I've cried at Scrubs. They know how to pull at the heartstrings, and I've not seen that one. I have to see that one.
Yeah, it's called My ABCs. It's season 8. I would strongly recommend it, especially if you want to have a good cry. Not one that's like going to make you sad, but like, yeah, it is okay to cry.
Yeah.
I can just let some emotion out for a second. But yeah, it's a beautiful episode, and just Joshua Radin's rendition of the Sesame Street theme, just like hauntingly beautiful in a way that you're like, no, this is Sesame Street. Like I'm not supposed to feel this way right
It's
now.
supposed to be sunny days. Everything's A-okay. But I love that. I love that. I feel like that encapsulates a lot of what Jim Henson was about too, that there is a sense of this like melancholy amongst the bright sunny days, and that the human experience is dynamic and multifaceted, and it's not just a linear thing that fits into a box. So that's really cool. that episode of Scrubs could like share, I feel like, that creative ethos or that creative idea in that way.
I mean, that's Rainbow Connection in a nutshell for you
Yes.
too, where
Yeah,
it's
I
just
mean-
beautifully haunting, melancholy, but which if you haven't heard Weezer and Haley Williams cover of Rainbow Connection, I would strongly recommend that one too.
Yeah.
That's on the Muppet cover album that Disney released like 10, 15 years ago at this point.
It's so good. You're like, I'm gonna be crying.
Yeah. Before we both start crying like big babies, let's get out of here, call it a day.
Yeah.
Please let everyone know where they can find you and your podcast.
You can find me on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube at Nerd Ranks. You can find the podcast Nerd Ranks on all of the podcast platforms. I do deep dives into nerdy things that I love. I put the S on there.
I'm
And
gonna go to Aldi's later.
yeah, I'm gonna go to nerd. I'm gonna. But yeah, you can find me on all the things and on all the flim flams and wing wangs on the internet. Nerd Ranks. If you like nerd stuff, I do those things over there.
Definitely give them a listen. Definitely give them a follow. There's a link to the podcast in the episode description. You can follow us on social media at Talking Smack Pod on Blue Sky, Facebook, and YouTube. You can email us at tsmackpod@gmail.com. Steven knows how to do that.
Hey, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Of course. Yeah, no, you, like we said, you passed the test. You are an evergreen guest that has an open invite.
I really appreciate that.
So thank you to Leo Allen for our musical themes, Beppo for our original avatars, Retro Studios for our Ricky avatar. Please like, subscribe, rate, review on your podcatcher of choice. Steven, thank you again so much for making the time to be here to have this fun conversation about Jim Henson, particularly Labyrinth, celebrating its 40th anniversary. I said it right that time. But thank you also, dear listeners, for listening. There's a TV show out there that people should be watching. That is Star Trek. But Steven, is there anything else out there that you think people should be watching?
If you haven't seen Labyrinth, go watch it. If you somehow haven't, go watch it. It's like you said, it's on YouTube for free.
Link is in the episode description.
Yeah, if you have seen it, go watch it again because it's a masterpiece.
Look for all those little details we were talking about. One of the first things my kids picked up on when they were actually paying attention to it was all the glitter on the logs as Sarah first entered the labyrinth.
Oh.
They're like, how is there so much glitter? I'm like, they had one and it multiplied infinitely.
Yeah.
Because that's what glitter does.
It's magic.
Hey, will you listen to this crap?
Will you please be
All
quiet?
right.
Okay?
Okay.
All right.
All right.
What?
Sorry.